off the cuff and lost track of time. So
all good.
All right, man. So we are live. Bryson, you ready? It is the REI Courage podcast, episode 9. I am extremely excited to introduce, well, not even introduced, a lot of people that are going to hop on here. I already know you, man. But for those that don't, Brysan Duval, man, I don't even like, I can go over all the stuff. It's in the bio. Like he started this full time, already has a 6-figure business built. He's working on his single family, multifamily rental portfolio. He's in the Superhuman wholesaling community as part of leadership. And I want to get a little more information on that as well as part of your journey, because I know that's played a huge part in not just your growth, but helping other people and giving back, which I put in the bio. And
Absolutely.
then we'll go into how your journey transpired, and then we'll just, like I said, our conversation, we hopped on for 5 minutes beforehand, lost track of time, and it was like, oh shoot, we've got a podcast to do. So
yeah,
we will start as people come on. Give Bryson some love, comment, pop stuff up. If you're from the St. Louis area, we're both in St. Louis, so this is an opportunity to put shout outs as far as where you are at, and then if anything pops up, we'll show it on the screen and we'll go from there, man. So we got about
brother.
These things normally go about 45 minutes. It goes by like a blink of an eye normally.
Right.
So I imagine this one will go with Bryson. But yeah, man. So go into kind of how your journey started in real estate to where you're at now, and then we'll just start providing information and nuggets and gems for everybody. Those are the buzzwords in the industry, but yeah, you got it, man. So yeah, give us your backstory, your history, how you got here, transpired, and yeah, show everyone some love, man.
Good deal. Well, first of all, man, I just appreciate you inviting me over. I think we kind of, aligned through just different Facebook posts relating content, and, definitely saw some similarities in mindset and vision a little bit as it pertains to the industry as well. So I think it was definitely good time to connect, and glad I could do this. So, my journey and real estate, my parents, own some properties, they're landlords. And so I've always had a little bit of interest in it. I didn't know what that would look like or, when that would fit into my life. But, I got introduced to wholesaling, from another local investor, David Dodge here, we share some office space together. So, we were friends before, even before he was in wholesaling or, full time in real estate, let's say that. And, I was just in a stage in my life where, I literally was just lost, had no idea what I wanted to do. And really, just saw opportunity. I saw that he was doing something on Facebook, and I was like, bro, what is this? What are you talking about? What are you doing? You're showing these properties, but I just didn't understand it. So he's like, yeah, man, a wholesaler. He's like, before, if you want me to invest time with you, run through all these videos and let me know what you think, pretty much, because he was still trying to grow his business, went through his free wholesale course, kind of got the premise really quickly. I had, very little, or I had a little money saved up, and I'm like, whatever. Okay, I'll come into your office and just make calls, Craigslist, Fizbos, whatever it was, So did that for a little bit, but I wasn't consistent, nor was I really committed to learning it. I was just like, I don't like school. I don't like working for my father. So, I don't really have anything to lose. I'm flipping cell phones. That was probably the extent of my entrepreneurship at that time. So, it transpired where I, did a couple joint venture deals, and then, with him bringing a buyer and me just kind of finding leads. And, that was great, but, I was still just really stuck in my mindset, in my belief system, things I thought about myself, self-esteem, just all that was lacking. I needed a lot of personal development. So, I could never be consistent. I could never fully commit to that and say, hey, I'm going to figure this out. This is it. I was just going back and forth is this for me? I don't know. What am I supposed to do in life? Just, no clear vision or purpose yet, or, real sense of identity at that time. So, that kind of led to the delay of things. And, I finished my degree. I did some deals kind of on my own, but like I said, just lacked the consistency. And then, graduated from college, worked in, project management and, for a corporation. And, I quickly realized that I did not like that whatsoever. I was like hesitant, even going into it from the beginning because, I just knew it wasn't for me. I knew corporate world. I knew that it just wasn't for me. So I did it because I really did it. And no one pressured me into do it. Obviously usually parents want you to go a safe route. Especially for all the things that I put my parents through and how much they've supported me. When I finally started to do well in life, they're like, I really put more pressure on myself to do a safe option, to appease them when they weren't really pressuring me to do anything. They would have supported me wholeheartedly, but also I think in the back of my mind was just fear. It was also like, am I even capable of like sustaining a business on my own?
Yep.
And I didn't really want to level up. My mindset wasn't there yet. I'm like, I don't even want to take on this responsibility. I just had some little achievement in my life. I don't want to just like fail myself or, not be able to execute and be successful in this. So it happened in its timing, man. And, I quickly just started getting, more tired of that job and started to really commit to, making the real estate business work. And, I was able to gain some consistency. Obviously, joining the Superhuman campaign in March of this year really helped me, really drill down the accountability that I needed to be, committed to the business. Yeah. And the results started to show pretty quickly in consistency and income. So, once it got to May 1st, I left my job and, just went into grind mode and been, kind of just meandering my way through the entrepreneurial journey, man.
Yeah. So you're getting some love real quick from Angela Long. I believe she's in St. Louis as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been working to connect with her.
Awesome.
Talk to you soon, probably. Angela, if you got any comments or any other love, Kimberly Pittman also sent you some love. I saw her on a podcast, or not a podcast, a live for the Superhumans the other day.
Yes, family.
Oh yeah. It sounds like you signing I heard a bunch in your backstory there, and I seem to be like having a little delay on my camera, but regardless, we're going to keep going. It's how entrepreneurs are, right?
Yep.
So one of the things you had mentioned is in March, you joined the Superhuman campaign, and that's a group run by Aaron Bevins, Superhuman Wholesalers, right? So give a little information. It sounds like there was kind of a shift in your mentality of like you had used the word commitment before. Did something click with you in signing up for that? Was it giving back? Because give a little breakdown of how that worked and then like the insights you had from that shift in March.
Yeah, I think that it was very pivotal. It was a pivotal like time because I knew that my days were numbered at the job, right? But I was also like, I still have some fear. I still haven't really developed a belief in myself where it's sustainable. So, joining an environment that is, more conducive for success, more conducive for personal development, people that are pouring into each other, showing up for each other, serving a community of people, kind of building that tribe as well. Kimberly showing some more Superhuman love.
You got it starting to pour in, man. It takes a minute or two, but they start showing up for sure.
Yeah. So I think that was pivotal, man. And also, getting that level of accountability to myself, but also to others. I think it was a two-way street that started to, kind of be, reinforcing. So, and, I had an opportunity to become a leader and, I was like, yeah, I was open to it. Then I was like, I don't know how to lead anyone, like I legit, like, that's what I thought in my head. Like, I was like, I wanted to do it. I really wanted to do that, but I didn't have the confidence in myself at the time to, that I didn't think that I could serve them, efficiently. And I didn't want to do anyone a disservice. Let's just say that. So I was really hesitant, but you know, it was I was talking to one of my boys, Dre, and he's in the Atlanta market, and you know, we were talking about a moment in the Superhuman. Early on, I was a leader. I was still at my job. I hadn't left yet, and I just become a leader. And you know, this was when our campaign was just like, you know, it was pretty chaotic in a way. You know, it was very inefficient. Because it was new. It was like nothing like that had ever been done. So we're like, yo, we're just gonna fail and just figure it out. You know what I mean? We're just gonna make it work. And it was ugly for me. It was because, you know, I hadn't really been in a leadership position. You know, it's like I was captain of my soccer team in high school, but it was like I was captain because I was the best player on the team. You know, I wasn't captain because I was a great leader, you know?
Yeah. So you were de facto like the best of what was available. You automatically get sometimes elevated into that role. And if the mindset isn't there and that attention you get isn't what you feel comfortable with, and you kind of hit on it in your process or in your backstory when you were talking, you had said like, I felt a little bit of success, but I didn't feel I was ready. And that's where we kind of hit that upper limit, is what it's called in the, you know, the big leap. Yep. They talk about, we're just unfamiliar with those feelings, like the unfamiliarity of success, the unfamiliarity of love and abundance and like having money, and like, it's a learned process. And that you made a post on Sunday that I posted, you know, reposted yesterday, you hit on it like very, very well. And before we get into that, because that'll be a whole nother rabbit hole we're going to go down, right? Right. Is you're getting some love. Jerry says, you're my guy. Paul Matthews, you know, local or wholesaler. Kimberly again, chain breakers, which I don't know what that hashtag's about. What is that one about, man?
Yeah, so that is the name of our that is the name of our team, my Superhuman team. You know, and that comes from just it is an extension of who I am, you know. And I think it's representative of anybody who is an overcomer, you know, a person that is building generational wealth, whatever it is, building a legacy, you know, and it can be as simple as just, you know, elevating out of bad habits and bad, you know, bad things in our life, harmful things, or you know, not loving ourselves. Any type of chain that's holding us back, I think is just, you know, that's what we do, is break chains. You know,
I love that. So I love that. Yeah. It's so, you know, some of my history and I talk about, and I've talked about freely, is, you know, going through the 12 steps, not for adult children of alcoholics. I grew up in an alcoholic household, but they talk about shame and guilt, and it's all programmed in our young, in our like we do it too. Like nobody goes out saying, hey, I'm going to screw my kids up. But like by default, we learn things as we grow up, whether it's from our parents, whether it's from our school. And then we have to break those for the next generation. Like we are put on this earth, at least my viewpoint and our conversations and kind of like that. We're here to evolve, and we're here to break those old toxicity and all that stuff. But yeah. And so, man, you got like, and I put that Angela on there because she said, get ready. Bryson's peeps are about to flood this live. I love it. Because then it went,
family, man.
Kimberly says you were leading them long before you became a leader. Samuel says, yes, sir. Chain breakers in the building. Let's get it, Bryson. Like FYI, we're at 20 people. And like, there's so many comments coming in. The GOAT, the greatest, watching from Kenya. Whoa, all right, man. Whoa. Mercy's watching from Kenya. Sam, 6 figures in 6 months. Superhumans in the house. Like, man, you have your just energy, and you shifted from this. And this is like why I brought you on. I don't even remember what rabbit hole. Oh, the post. Like we've had so much interaction. That post that you put on Sunday, there is an app out there right now that everybody is like flocking to, and it's a matter. Like this is where we talked about before we hopped on the podcast of like becoming laser focused. And we've got all these things that are coming. Like when we put yourself out there, as you start growing, as you start becoming elevated, you have opportunities that you will start attracting. And so it's got to become more intentional, because our time starts narrowing. As far as if we take every opportunity, we're going to end up not having anything. So you made a post on Sunday about like even this podcast, and this is why I wanted you on this podcast, is you talked about, we can talk strategies, we can talk tactics, but if you're not taking the action to move forward, then like, what's the point? And so dig into that a little bit of the mindset and like the belief work and why you posted that. And I'm sure you're going to go off, man. You go for it.
Right. Don't get me started. How much time we got?
Yeah. Right.
I love that, man. And I appreciate all the superhuman love. That's when I say that's family, like that's family, like real talk.
Bro, it's not stopping. They're tagging other people like,
bro, it's something that I have,
Brysan is that guy.
It's just amazing, man. I'll get on that superhuman tangent in a minute. That's like, but I appreciate the love from all the superhuman family, far and wide. So yeah, for my post, it's like I think some people took it out of context as if I was like, the post had nothing to do with Clubhouse. No. Most people, I'm hoping most people got that, and it's like, some obviously didn't, and that's perfectly fine. But it's just about it was just pertinent because everybody hopped on Clubhouse, that week or whenever that was. So, and for us, what I have noticed, just from my experience, not criticizing anyone else, is that when our mindsets are not in the right place, we search for entertainment. Okay. You know what I mean? Or if we have no vision or purpose, or, maybe we are just not ready to level up. Our mindset's just not there to start really taking action. That's perfectly fine. That's certainly my truth in different areas of my life there. They've just changed, the different obstacles are changing, so it's definitely still pertinent to my life on an everyday basis. But, I'm just saying it's a thing where, I think if we, I almost saw, I heard this on a sermon, and, I'm not like preaching or anybody, regardless of people's belief, but it's just a principle. Yeah. And, the pastor was saying that, sometimes that they're just, too lazy to fulfill their purpose. And they're being real. I loved it because I'm like, it's a pastor being vulnerable. We usually don't see that in my understanding or my experiences in a church setting. It's like you're preaching up here, so she's preaching from right here, so that was cool. Yeah. So, she says like, that's just the bottom line. That's the bottom line is that I'm just too lazy to do that. And I want to watch YouTube of other people who are living the life that I want to live instead of me actually just showing up for my life. Right. And I feel like it's a thing where, especially in that education space or in our industry specifically, there's so much knowledge and action, and, you can be on Clubhouse or whatever it is for so many hours and convince yourself that you're being productive because I'm learning.
Mental gymnastics.
Yeah. Because I'm learning, I'm being productive. And it's like, no, it's like that same thing about being laser focused. It's like, no, you just take one thing, you say, cool, I'm gonna implement that. There'll be more information available when I'm ready for it. It's not going anywhere. There's nothing new under the sun, so it's all, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter when our minds and our hearts are receptive and that soil is finally fertile, then like the seeds will come, what I mean, is what I believe. Yeah, so.
Without a doubt. And that's like what I tell my clients. It's what I talk to investors about. It's like the timing will always be right. You're not going to miss out. There may be an opportunity, but how many opportunities have come in the past 30 years in real estate? How many times has it adjusted? How many times like you hit on it? And that was the whole, I didn't take the app because there's going to be another app. There's going to be another Twitter. There's going to be another, like it's going to come. Mm-hmm. What got me and what I've built this podcast around is we can teach strategies and tactics all day long. I can tell a new wholesaler how to go out and drive for dollars and do this. It's why you're not doing it that I want to know is going on. Is it a fear? Is it a doubt? Is it insecurity? Is it you have to build a new skill set? Is it and we talked about this. Nothing irritates me more than seeing somebody go out and say, hey, I bought $1,000 CRM or new product that's going to make me X, Y, and Z, thinking it's the magic pill that's going to fix their business or go to a training. I have done that myself. I'm sure you have as well, because that was my mindset back then. But I wasn't ready for it. I hadn't built up my internal, like my mindset, my belief system. And you talked about it as well. And it's an inner game. And it's not that one is better than the other. The inner game and the action one's not better than the other.
Right.
It needs to be a holistic approach. It needs to be curiosity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sable Smith said, diamonds, starve your distractions. I like that.
Chris Alimas, my brother down in Florida.
Yeah, for sure. And Angela says, Brysan Duval is a respected entrepreneur in the field. So when he issues tough love, I can take it no matter how much it stings. And that's just it. And that, like Kim says, absolutely. Kimberly. Don't want to say Kimberly.
Right. There we go. Let's get it right.
Right. Got to be Kimberly. So, and that's just it. It's if you do it from a place of love, you do it from a place of abundance, you do it. And that's just it. And I think that's part of it as well of, the people that are out there, like, you're not working hard enough. You're not doing, like, there's a reason why. Let's figure that out. Let's get you into action and do it from a place of love. Not that you're broken, not that there's something wrong with you, but like, dude, your awareness just isn't at that level yet. Your mindset isn't at that level yet. And going through and taking that action sometimes is what builds it, right? Mm-hmm. So you've helped. Obviously, you have a huge following, and a lot of these guys are in St. Louis. So for you, this is where we normally get into like the questions and that stuff. What for you? You kind of hit on it. Uh-huh. You said you started the Superhuman campaign. You said you didn't really have the confidence as far as a leader, right. As far as like knowing whether you were going to be able to do it. Can you dig into or like go into what that feeling was or what, like, how you overcame it? Because that's a lot of what people don't necessarily talk about it. They intrinsically know how to do it if they're built that way. Like, hey, I've been making money all my life. I just go out and do it. Like, that doesn't necessarily help somebody that's feeling stuck, that is beating themselves up because they can't make cold calls, or like, man, I can't just get myself off the couch to go drive for dollars. Like, pushing through that fear or that doubt, like, what did that look like for you? Is that something that you can put into words?
Absolutely, man. I was kind of hidden on it. My boy Dre described a call we were on, right? This was shortly after I became a leader, and I was curious to see how my team was responding to me, right?
Okay.
So we had a call, and I'm taking this call at my old job. I get off of work, everybody in my office is left, and I usually like do cold calls while when they leave the office, and I lock up. So we're on a team call, and like I asked, I'm opening the doors for all open, communication, honest feedback to my leadership. What I'm doing, good, wrong, indifferent. What are some suggestions that I can serve you guys better, right? And they lit into me, bro. Like,
oh, okay.
Like,
yeah,
like, bro, like I took like literally took it on the chin, like literally ate a few people literally ate into me, bro. So, and I'm just sitting there, and Dre brought it up in our conversation last night, and he's like, bro, like, he was like, that was probably the most uncomfortable thing to witness I've like in my entire life. How awkward, because it's like, these are people I haven't even met these people before, right?
Right.
And I'm just looking at a screen. Some screens are dark, blah blah blah, and I'm like in the spotlight, and people are, and some of the criticism was completely valid. Some of it, that I didn't receive, just because I didn't agree with it, Yeah. And I didn't take that on. Well, no, that's not true. I took it all on, Right. I didn't believe all of it necessarily, but I took it all on in my emotions. So, honestly, when I left that call, I thought I was going to step down as a leader in the campaign.
Yeah.
I literally was like, maybe this is I'm just not ready for this, And I got off the call and kind of, like we left the call and it was just like open-ended. Like my team had no idea if I was like going to be their leader anymore or like what was going to happen. There was so much uncertainty. It's just super awkward. Right.
Yeah.
I sat with it, and, because when I'm hearing those things, the old feelings about myself are starting to come up. Right. I'm starting to doubt myself. you're not capable of doing this. You cannot, the low self-esteem and the questioning my ability and the shame and things started to flood my mind as I'm in this moment. Right. And Dre said he could like see it on my face. Right. But I stood there, because I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to take it on the chin. We're here now. So whatever. And, I felt terrible. And I said that, I just started to talk to myself. And, after that, I just really like started to think, I journaled a little bit after that. And, my feelings and, it was those feelings of inadequacy, that I'm not capable. I'm different. I'm not going to be able to live up to, what my family has set out. All these beliefs literally flood my mind. Right.
Yeah.
And none of which are true. So it's all created. It's all coming from memory and past experiences and all that. So, I just kind of I just kind of took the commitment of like, okay, so what happens if I quit now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What does that say about me? Or, is quitting the best thing for the team and everyone involved? Or is quitting just like the easiest thing to give in to the old Brysan, The
safe way.
Yeah. So I started to really weigh that. And I said, well, I'm just going to show up and at least just fake it until I make it and figure out what a leader does, Okay. So I started to kind of reach out to other people that I respected as leaders, get their feedback, started to notice what they were doing. And it was just uncomfortable. It like literally just sucked for a decent amount of time. Like I say, like it legit was so uncomfortable for months.
Yeah.
Months. I mean, I was just literally just showing up like, okay, cool. I'm just, I'm praying before the call. I'm talking to myself. I'm just like, bro, you got to do this. Like, if you want to have some type of life that you're proud of, that's of any level of impact, if that is even a part of your vision of what you think is possible, here's the time to show up. If you quit now, it's like, okay, then what? What do we do?
Yeah. You touched on something right there that for like, if this is a part of your vision, this is where you earn it, right?
That's it.
Like the building, the book, The Big Leap. I don't know if you've read it yet, but they talk about it. Is the only reason we don't have that feeling that, and you touched on it too, like going through those emotions of like, what is a new leader, like going through that inadequacy feeling, like you're elevating your emotional resonance is what they call it, but it's just because it's unfamiliar. It's a new skill set. It can be uncomfortable, but it's really just unfamiliar. It's how is it feeling to go through it, man? And so you literally broke down like, this is what it looks like to build a new skill set from like when you initially realize you don't have it and what you're willing to do if it is a part of it. Like you took all the other options, which is the definition of commitment. You took all the other options off the table, like whatever the road work, as they call it in boxing, whatever the road work is I've got to do to make this work, whether it's now or it's like phase 2 of doing this or phase 3, like I'm willing to do it. And for me, when that commitment, and what I tell, clients and people is when that commitment is made, just being willing to do it is really just the first step.
Yep.
And then what will have to be done will come into, and normally, and you kind of touched on it, is we get so far in our heads that we build up roadblocks that aren't even there.
Yeah.
Right. To protect ourselves, to save ourselves. So,
and it really goes back to like, casting that new identity, having those, as the author, I can't even think of the guy's name. What's his name? James Clear. I'm like, of course I know. Atomic Habits. Obviously, it's one of the best books I've ever probably read in my life. And, he's always, he mentions or phrases it as, casting a vote for that identity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I started to realize like, okay, I started to take that on and say, hey, I'm just going to cast votes. Every day, I'm just going to cast a vote to be a leader. How do I, what is the vote that I can cast today that says that Brysan, you are a good leader?
Yeah.
What do I have to do to be a great leader? How do I cast that vote? That's one more vote. I showed up for that. I'm being intentional in my communication with my team. I'm asking tough questions. I'm showing up for them. I'm leading with value, whatever it is, and just continuously casting those votes, because it's like with anything, man, it's like people don't realize like there is a payoff in returning to your old self. There is a payoff, it's not a good payoff. It's not a good payoff, but there is a payoff because it reaffirms our beliefs.
So when you say there's a payoff for going to your old self,
yeah,
you mean like so it sounds like Steve Harvey, I love his his definition of what this is. You're talking about coming up against your turn. He calls it the turn back point, where you either can decide and commit to being this new person or this new whatever you're trying to build, or you turn back and you stay the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the beliefs are already there. You haven't crossed the threshold yet, right?
Right.
So it's like everything up until that point technically is your belief, what is truth.
Yeah.
So you returning into it, go back from there. There is a payoff because it just reaffirms your beliefs. We all want to reaffirm our beliefs, whether they're good or bad. As crazy as that sounds.
Comfortable.
Exactly.
We're familiar with it. Yeah, exactly, man. So we'll hit some comments real quick, man. We're already a half hour in. Told you we're going to fly by.
Right.
Angela said, grown man stuff. You eventually face that uncomfortable situation head on. In comes chain breakers. Yeah, they're showing up. Sam says, let's go. Speak it into existence. Cast the vote.
Yep.
Patrick says, a leader you are, my man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Chris says, value. Angelo says lead with value, and he had commented earlier that that's where he was at. That's how he feels. So yeah, man, you're hitting it right on the head, and I think this is the message. This is like one of the messages as like my podcast has been out there that I want people to see. Like the hero's journey. I don't know if you've read that book either, but they talk about it. The hero's journey isn't going out there and battling. That's what it used to be. But the journey and the fight always starts internally. It always starts in that 6 inches between your ears, right, man? So let's dive in. I've got a couple other questions that we can roll into, but the first one that comes off of my head is what are some of the books that you recommend for people to really take and absorb? And like, there's books that I've read over and over again. I'm sure there's ones that you have. So give a couple of those. And then kind of what is your approach to, we talked about that specific example of going and building your leadership skill set, but you're just generic, or not even generic, your general approach to like how you operate on the inner game. Like, what's your approach to working on that inner game? Are there habits that you have that are non-negotiable? Like I meditate, starting to build in health conscious for that body, that, the physical aspect. Like let's start with the books and then we'll get into, actually, no, let's start with the habits.
Right.
We'll roll into the books.
Good deal. So my non-negotiables are some form of God time every single day, nice. Some type of spiritual time. I call it God time. And that the limit to that. And for me, it's just a 10-minute thing that I use on a habit tracker. If I do 10 minutes of God time, that is still setting a habit for me and puts me in a space, preferably in the morning. Affirmations is a non-negotiable for me. And, for me, it's just read for 15 minutes. Those are really the three non-negotiables. I mean, I have pretty much for the last, I think 89% is where I'm at on my habit tracker for nice. Doing cardio in the morning. So, for the past few months, been doing 20 minutes of cardio in the morning. And, I think it's really just having some mental stimulation, some spiritual stimulation, and some type of personal development. Those three things, so those are the habits that I am, that no matter what, I have other habits that I track, but those are the things like, okay, if I absolutely can't do, I can do it. If I don't do anything else, I don't necessarily feel, bad about them. Let's just say that. So
yeah, it's just a standard. These are literally like they're getting done regardless. So
right.
Yeah. Hey, Angelo says he loves you, brother, by the way.
I know, Angelo, love you.
Yeah.
Too. Appreciate it.
So books wise, man, or you said mental, spiritual, personal development.
Uh-huh.
What books would you recommend, like for new wholesalers or like people or not even wholesalers, but like new people to investing, entrepreneurship? Like And what kind of books do you normally gravitate to? Or, you know, it could be audio, it could be seminars. Like what kind of personal development are you actually partaking in that you are actively seeking out?
So for me, it's because like even on a there's things that I read that I'm like trying, like applying, you know, as far as like a strategy. Like right now I'm reading the 12-week year right now. So making, you know, shorter term goals and embodying that, you know, 12-week calendar instead of a 12-month calendar.
Yeah.
And which I'm already like just finding out is just, it's just creating the urgency in my life that I need.
Yeah.
Because, so, you know, I try to balance it with just pure like mindset. So that's why I always keep in my office things like Atomic Habits, The Slight Edge, you know, what to say to yourself, what to say when you're talking to yourself. Is that the time? What to say?
Shad Helmstetler, man.
Is that am I saying that right? What to say when you talk to yourself?
Yeah. Honestly, it's one of the books that like got me into neurolinguistics, and like you can't find it on audio anywhere. You can find a second book. That book will change your life.
You need to read it. Do not listen to it on audio. It's probably not available for a reason.
Right. Yeah. Well, total. Like, as you could tell, I was like, oh my God, you read that? Like, almost nobody has read that book.
Yeah, it's like not as popular as I would like think it is for whatever reason. I don't know, but it stood out to me, man, and it's so big, you know. So things, you know, I love the book As a Man Thinketh, you know, it's classic, you know, I read the updated version, but. You know, so I keep those next to me just because sometimes during the day, I'm just like, you know, trying to build up my frequency again and my energy. So I just, you know, have things highlighted. I say, I know I can flip through these pages and just see something where I'm like, okay, cool. I'm a little bit more dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, for entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is, it requires such a level of personal development that it's like, that's what I recommend the most. You know, I mean, obviously, like, you know, I'm diving into and implementing Traction too. You know, so obviously, you know, books like Traction, you know, I haven't read Profit First, but, you know, I hear that's a great book that I probably should have read it already, but I haven't. You know, so there's, you know, Magic of Thinking Big. There's, you know, Bullseye, The Power of Focus by Brian Tracy that I love. And, you know, and you'll start to read a lot of these books, and a lot of them have recurring themes, you know, and different things are just, you know, they're just explained in different language or have a slightly different strategy around them. But it's principles, not laws, you know, it's all principles.
Yeah. And that's what, as your awareness and your growth, and you touched on it, Eric Warr, who runs like one of the biggest multi-level marketing training programs out there, the thing that he always stuck when I was in that arena, really the biggest thing that stuck, he said, your business and growing your business and what you get out of it is not the reward. It's who you become in order to operate that business is really what your reward is at the end of the day. And that stuck with me so much. I didn't realize until I started going into like the personal development arena that how impactful that actually was. Because at that level of awareness, I was like, that doesn't really make sense. I want I want the money and the cars and the castle, right? And I'm like, forget who I become. I want stuff, right? Not realizing that you don't get the stuff until you become somebody. You be, do, have, instead of most people want to like have, do, be. Like, I'll do this when I become a millionaire. Yeah, that's broken and back.
That's it.
Yeah. Man. And so Patrick said neuroassociative conditioning is so important. Angela, thank you for putting that into the comments. The book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetler. And if I could comment back on the actual Facebook post, I would put that. I'll go in and actually put a link to it. But yeah, man, that book like shifted my mindset around it. Our reality is crafted by the stories we tell ourselves in person and what the words that come out of our mouths. And And the reason why is because when I say, you know, this is tough has a different meaning and a different picture to me than it might for you, Bryson, and it might for anybody else that's on this thread. And so how that word actually pictures in our head creates what we do in life. And so, and that's just an example, but like that's how it is with everything, because it's based on how you grew up, what you grew up with.
What association comes with those words.
Yeah. And the way to grow and evolve is to reassociate stuff. Change your framework, right? So yeah, man, you got it. Great stuff, Brysan by Victor.
What's up, man?
Yeah, reading is required for the success mindset. Yep.
Thanks.
So yeah, man, like it's so for me, at least for me, it's important. There's people that can do it because that's how they grew up, and like that's how they're programmed, and like, hey, I can make money without a problem. And so, you know, some of us haven't had that luxury.
Yeah, I'm like, I just can't.
Right. So one of the questions I ask some people is, and I love this question because it makes you kind of go internal, which obviously we do on this podcast. But if you had to narrow it down to what is your superpower, as far as like what do you really, and you're still kind of a younger guy, so you may not have a like pulse on what it is, but for, let's just say, in the business or in general, like what do you think one of your greatest skill sets is that you like almost have a superpower in that arena? You were built to do this. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. So I think
Superhuman. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Is that right? You're talking to a superhuman wholesaler, right?
Right.
So I think my overall superpower is a high level of authenticity. So
okay,
for me, and that comes a lot of times it is manifested through my vulnerability with people, and you know, I think that leads into my ability to connect. You know, so this has been a thing that I've always been a person that, like, you know, I as people say, keep it 100. I've always been that type of person, you know, whether my life was extremely messed up or, you know, or you know, better or how it is now, let's say that, or even when I was younger, you know, I've always been able to speak my mind and not really hold back things, you know, even if it was with my parents and it was disrespectful for whatever, or, you know, depending on this thing. So, but for me now, it's I think I can, you know, resonate with people more from their feedback, and it's easier to communicate because I can come from a place of vulnerability and show up as my true self, you know, without like too much fear. Of course, we all think about like, you know, how's this content going to be received? You know, we're humans. We're going to question things. We're going to doubt things, and that's natural. It's just, you know, how I spoke to my team, you know, people on my team last night. It's like, you know, we're all, you know, one of my team members was questioning, like, you know, how do you know when to, you know, be so transparent and when not to be on social media, right? Or, you know, when do I be vulnerable, or how much do I share? And me, I go through that too. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, like, I'm Brysan Duval. You know, there's only one of me. And, you know, whoever can't receive me as my true self, I don't give a shit, you know? So
I love it. I love it. So, that's just it. It's when you start shifting out of I need to please people, and then for me at least, hitting on you nailed it, is like we're either a fit or we're not. And if I'm not being true to who I am, I'm definitely not going to know if you're the true fit, because I'm trying to fit you into a mold that I'm not actually being real about. Mm-hmm. And so and that's the same way with, like, I mean, you can take it to your business, you can take it to relationships, you can take it, like, there's a Brene Brown, talks huge about that, of like, look, vulnerability without boundaries is not okay, and vulnerability isn't okay either. It's like you gotta have a balance of both, man. So yeah, you hit it. Let's see. Patrick says authenticity with people, keeping it raw and uncut. And yeah, man, and just from our conversations and seeing how you've interacted with people, and Sam says you say it so calm, which is a great thing. So it's a empathy, it's a compassion, and this normally is comes from people that have had a not a gifted, and when I say gifted, I mean like kind of almost handed, like, hey, the silver spoon, as they say. It's people that have gone through kind of a rough time and understand, like, for me, it was, dude, I wonder what had to happen so that people got to this point. and how they were raised, like I understand how I was raised. I was a miserable human being 7 years ago.
Right.
Like I wouldn't want you around me, but I also understand like that's because I'm not that guy anymore. And like people have their journeys and they're just at different spots and there's nothing wrong with it. Right. It goes back to, hey man, are we a fit or not? Right now in this moment, are we a fit? If not, cool. You know, so your authenticity, your compassion, your empathy, like being willing to sit there and say, hey guys, how am I doing? Like, and then take that. Like, not a lot of people can do that. And that's simply like, I'm interested in growth, man. You're awesome, by the way.
Appreciate you, Josh.
Right.
That, man.
So we're like I said, man, 45 minutes.
I know.
Like it was like a snap of a finger. So I've got one question. Well, actually two for you. So we probably got another 15 minutes. People are still on. They're still engaging. Brysan comes from a no judgment approach, and that's it too, man. You give people the capacity to be who they are and grow into who they really want to be by not layering. Like human nature is to judge themselves, and that judgment just weighs everything down. The word I used the other day with a client was it makes life sticky. It makes you like trying to go through life with all this judgment. It makes it resistant. Like, so yeah, man, you are,
we judge ourselves so much that it's like and that just leads into us making so many assumptions about everything else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's just not healthy whatsoever.
Yeah. It's, and that's what our brain does. Our ego, like it was a safety mechanism back in the day to keep us from being eaten by saber-tooth tigers. Now it's like, hey, we're going to keep you in your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Which makes stories. So, if you had to give, that'll be the last question. What are 3 things that have surprised you on this journey that were more difficult than you expected? And then 3 things that were easier than you expected? If you don't have 3, that's cool, but that's the number that we came up with. So things that were easier and things that were more difficult than you anticipated.
Wow, that's a great question. For the difficult side is I did realize how difficult it is to lead and train people, especially, you know, like me, I'm trying to build a team internally, even with my VA. And, you know, I'm onboarding actually, you know, meeting a new VA actually later this afternoon. So,
nice.
You know, it is, you know, really understanding people's like language and like how they're interpreting things, how they need to be communicated to, you know, which I'm just like, not like I'm raw and uncut and really straight to the point. So it's like, you know, I always ask people, even on my team, I'm like, how are you receiving that? You know, like, is that like, you know, how am I coming off? So, so that's been tough. Also, what's been tough is just letting go of the bind, getting my mindset around delegation, you know, planning and being really detail oriented with how I do things, so that, you know, whatever that task can be delegated at some point. You know, I realize that, you know, my mindset is easy to be like, yo, we're going to hit the phones. We're going to hustle. We're going to drum up business.
Yeah.
Hit it hard, do the income producing activities. But I realize, you know, like, you know, building out, you know, processes to fit that vision is not my strong suit whatsoever. You know, I'm getting better. I'm in the process of overcoming. So,
so we improve or we find a way to support it. That's
absolutely
what you got. So
right. So I think that one of the easier things is I'm seeing that. It may be easy is not the word, but all like there's just like a sense of gratitude around it, because it's like it's amazing how like quickly you can get somewhere. You know, once you start to align, like, you know, with your personal development, your desires, the value that you also provide, you know, how you're serving other people, how things will align for you, and things can change so quickly, or you can have access to, you can access places within yourself almost, and just also just like in the industry where it's a connection or whatever it is. You're like, wow, I never would have thought I'd be having this conversation with someone within a year. You know, the people that I talked to today, I'm like, well, like what just happened? It was like it's kind of a hard journey, but it's like, with a blink of an eye, you're like, wow, it's like you're in a whole different space.
Yeah.
An opportunity. It's like, it's like a flash, and it's just, for me getting like clean and sober 4 years ago, it's like, what happened? You know what I mean? What I thought about myself, what I thought to be the truth is totally different now.
Yeah. And dude, yeah, that's amazing insight too. Cause for me, and I just started noticing this too recently, is like, I used to not feel like I belonged in the rooms that I'm currently having impact in. Like that's a whole, like, I just like felt that go through my body, but I know you're feeling that too. Cause we talked about it, of like, from your journey back in March as a leader, of like having all these people, like you are impacting people on a level that 6-7 months ago, like, may not have even been in your arena, like in your perception. Right. And so, yeah, that's huge. The growth that can happen in a short amount of time with focus and just willingness is gigantic. And so, yeah, man, we will get to the last question and we'll end it there. We got like 7 minutes left, right? Told you it was going to fly by. I'm going to do a couple of these comments. So, yeah, Kimberly said, you come from a no judgment approach. That's why your authenticity, you're the GOAT. That already.
Appreciate it.
Who's always there. We're just in the way. Truth. That's that right there.
Come on, Chris.
Yeah, we fight the flow. Yeah, the big question that came up for me is, man, like, what if this is heaven and I'm just ruining it because I'm fighting it all the time? Like
creating problems.
You nailed it, Chris, right? Wow. So Angela said, facts, because of your authenticity, she can talk to you about stuff that she would never open her mouth to tell other people. That is a commodity and a value that, and I have, like, my wife has that same ability. Like it's grown. Like it can be, like, I feel myself getting really like pointed on this, but I don't know necessarily that they really understand how valuable that is, to have the ability to be and some of my coaches have called it a container. Like I say, have the capacity, but to allow people to really expand and show who they really are. That will connect you with sellers. That will connect you to people. That for me is the premier, like, commodity of a leader. Like, and to have people say that about you, like, I'm getting chills just talking.
Like, it literally, like, it makes my eyes water. Like, it really does, because it comes from a lot of a place from, like, I'm getting better in this arena, but I still have a little bit of daddy issues, and I think it comes from a place where it's like, I got into the place where, through recovery and, working a 12-step program, being exposed to that. And, I just value emotional safety so much, as personally I do, like that's one of the biggest things. It's like the people I'm attracted to the most is because they just allow me to be my whole self, like vulnerable, insecure sometimes. Like that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't have to paint a picture for them. Like, sometimes it's like tomorrow I could be like, yo, like, I don't even feel like doing real estate today.
Yeah.
And that could be my truth for that moment, and for somebody to really accept me for just what that is. I really just, I didn't realize that I was longing for that, for so long. I didn't realize it until I really started to feel it on an intimate level. So, I got to the place where I'm like, for me, it's selfish, and it invalidates any of my experience if I can't share my true self and be vulnerable enough where people can get the permission to just be vulnerable and authentic themselves. Really, that's what it's out of. That's why I share the way I do. That's what I feel like that's a part of my calling and purpose and my mission.
And that is one of the main reasons why I wanted you on my podcast so much, because it's courage. It takes vulnerability. It takes courage to be vulnerable, and it's the courage to be who you really are, who you want to be, and run a business the way that it works for you and who you are, as opposed to, and we talked about this, all the different ways that it should be run, and we try to shoehorn ourselves into something that isn't us, right? Yeah. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. I love that. I love, just your willingness to share and be on that level. Dolly said, on target, man. So last question, we got about 5 minutes and I don't know how long, but, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but like one piece of advice, and I always say this, like if I gave myself one piece of advice when I was 23, which, going to be 39 in a couple months, when I was 23, this would be it. Oh, and by the way, that 23-year-old Josh wouldn't listen to it. Here it is, right?
Right.
So if you had like one piece of advice that, the Brysan, a year and a half, 2 years, 4 years ago, whenever you started this journey, or just a new wholesaler, investor, someone looking to get into it, or the people that are already on, man, one piece of advice that has rang true for you across the board, what would that be?
Wow.
I told you the question.
Those are good questions, man. This is no joke, Josh. I wasn't prepared for all this. Can I give a 2-part answer?
No. Yeah, man. What do you got?
Like one thing, bro. I think it is really, staying true to yourself is one of the things. Just really staying true to yourself. But also, man, I mean, take action is one of the things. Take action and try to start with a clear path. And Christina Aguilera mentioned this a little bit. I think somebody said in their story, they had asked her a question, and we were talking about the confusion of analysis paralysis and over information, overstimulation. Exactly. It's just really picking a clear path with something that's the most simple for you at your moment, and going in for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Just the one thing. So that also, what impedes a little bit of that, and that's the kind of other part of my answer is that, bro, like I think for any of us to really reach those heights, man, like the earlier you can adopt this is to heal first. That's one of my biggest things, just to heal first.
Oh, I felt that in my soul, man.
Bro, get up. Heal first. Either you're going to heal first, or it's just going to be a thing where, all that confusion, baggage, whatever we come in. Because let's just face the facts, man. Nobody who is absolutely killing it in life ventures into wholesaling. I don't know any of them. Let's just be real. Maybe you do. I don't know any. I don't know any.
Dude, okay.
So it's like I don't know any guy that's a partner at a law firm or an accounting firm or a doctor that's like, hey, what are these guys? What are these weird people talking about on YouTube? I want to do a wholesale. They said they can make money with no money. What's that about? Like, no. They're like, that's a scam. I'm going to keep my good ass job. What I started to notice is like, okay, so if that demographic are not usually the people that show up and into wholesaling, late at life at least, or not like the 17-year-olds that have like, that great idea to be like, wait, I want to do this now. It's awesome. But that's, because of the internet, we get that. But, if you're an adult and you come into it, something's usually wrong. Something's usually wrong, whether that's just financially, you don't like the career path, you don't like yourself, you don't like where you're going, you don't like all those things. So I naturally believe that demographic of people will more times than not come with baggage.
Yeah.
That's just from my experience. And maybe that's just from my perception, so
if
you come with baggage, that means that baggage has the potential to cause a lot of confusion and friction and resistance into your success. Yeah. So that's why I say heal first.
I never, even though I know that, I never looked at it through that perspective. And like, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's wholesaling is great. Like you learn how to do deals, you learn how to structure deals, you learn how to market, you learn how to get yourself in front of sellers. Yeah. Like it's a great avenue to get deals done in real estate. But you are you are kind of like the demographic that it is lowest entry point for how to get into real estate, easiest one to teach, easiest one to sell, but it's got its own pros and cons. Like, so you hit on it is, man, I never thought of it that way. And now I'm going to kind of saute on that one. No, that's it, man. So heal first. Like,
heal first.
I love that. Heal. Like, there is going to be some healing regardless. Like, you're not going to elevate your status in life without healing what has kept you at the lower status. Yep. It's just how it is. And yeah, man, you hit on it. If you got these dreams to like rehab and hold rental properties and like do commercials and like all of that, and you're starting at wholesaling, yeah, like Eric Orr says, man, you're going to have to become the guy that does all that, and healing is part of that process. So
absolutely,
dude. Yeah. Troy said that was deep, bro. Like, and this is why I love having this podcast and having this platform for, you know, people of like in our industry that like just have insights into not just the mindset, the emotional world, the spiritual world, and just like real estate in general. Yeah, you got that hit with some people.
I'm glad, man.
Point. Yeah, that's my brother. I'm proud of you, Bryson.
Love you, Yolanda.
Oh yeah, I've seen her all over the place. I need to get her on the podcast too. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I mean, at that, man, we're right at the hour. I told you these normally go 30, 45 minutes. Told you it probably wouldn't be one of those. It'll probably go an hour.
Not with me.
Yeah, no, man. It was. It's an easy conversation, and it's because you're vulnerable, because you know how to talk, influence. Shad Helmstetler, man, check out that book for sure.
Please do.
Yeah, I will put a link in the for everybody that hopped on. I'll put a link under. I can't remember who put that out there. I think it was Angela, but
Angela, yep.
I'll put the link under there. We'll go in there, and yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to say to everybody before we hop off? We still got a dozen or so people on here, still giving love. Yolanda said, I'm down to be on your Josh. Let's do it. Done.
Got it.
Reach out to you, Yolanda. Anybody else that came on here? Because I know Bryson, like everybody got some love. If you're interested in being on the podcast, reach out to me. And we'll have a conversation. So I love providing value and providing this platform. Like, this is the stuff. Like, I love Bryson. So anyway,
love you too, man.
Vulnerable. I'll put it out there. I love you, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and so we'll talk. L'Oreal. I butchered that name. I apologize.
Yeah, she's in the same boat as well.
She's giving you some love. So yeah, man. Is there anything you want to say before we hop off?
Man, I just want to leave everybody, like, you know, if anybody is like struggling, you know, experiencing that type of, you know, blocks or mental blocks in their business where they just figure out, you know, feel like they can't, you know, gain traction or anything. And it's like, you know, that's always my recurring theme is like, you know, it's rarely the skill set that's the problem. You know, it's because it's like if you have the right mindset, you can learn 99.9% of anything on this earth, you know? So it's like, for me, man, it's asking yourself the tough questions, going places that are just ugly. Like, yo, like if you don't cry, I still cry. I'm still healing today. Whereas some things happen and I'm just like, yo, like, this either hurts or it's something that I don't want to really deal with right now. I get it.
I laugh because I've experienced it. And, yeah.
So it's just those ways. You got to go back to the scenes of the crime. You know, you got to go back to the crime scenes of life. You have to go back to the dark places that just suck. You know, it sucks and it's going to be so painful. But there's just on the other side of that is just really just so much joy, so much. You know, relief in that, you know, really, really going back there, forgiving. Sometimes for me, I just had to go back to a place where I just had to forgive myself and say like, yo, bro, I love you, you know, really like actually experience and talk to myself and treat myself like that.
Yeah.
You know, really show myself that type of love and repair that love for myself that was once there when I was a boy.
Yeah.
You know, the confident, you know, nice young child that Bryson was, right?
Yeah.
You know, but it's like life, you know, causes that confusion along the way. And, you know, we have to sort through it. So that's what I would say. leave everybody with just try to sort through the confusion.
Reparenting is what they called it in my 12 steps. So yeah, man.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love everything that you spit at an hour and 5. So we're gonna end it here. I'll do these last comments and then we'll bounce. I'm sure we could go for another hour. But L'Oreal says, proud of you, man, witnessed your growth.
Yes, L'Oreal, appreciate you.
Yeah, Yolanda says, I love you, Bryson. Great dude, hands down. You always get the real with him.
Yeah, love you too, Yolanda. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then Angela says it was a perfect midday pickup on Friday. Yeah, thanks, Josh and Bryson. So yeah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. If obviously, man, if anybody has any questions, if you're watching back through this on the replay, if you've made it this far, an hour and 5 minutes in, reach out, make any comments on here. If you have questions for Bryson, like I'll put him in it. Yeah, we'll get this rolling. We're just looking to go out, provide value, and make an impact in the world, man. So all right, man, I will let you go now. We're up against it. And so I'll talk to you soon, man. I'll shoot you a message and we'll connect.
Awesome. Thanks again, Josh. I greatly appreciate you having me on, man. We'll talk.
Man, it was amazing. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.